All right, Shalom family, and welcome back to the Submitting to channel, where I stand on three things: scripture, logic, and truth. This is part 4 of our response to Officer Brandon Tatum's interview in his interview series on the Nolan Wells case. If you've watched parts 1 through 3, then you already know my position. It hasn't changed. I'm not here to defend Ben Crump. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to accuse Warren. And I'm not here to tell you what happened to Nolan Wells outright. I'm simply here to examine the reasoning and to find out what happened to Nolan Xavier Wells. And I'm just like you. I have a ton of questions based on parts 1, 2, and 3 so far. More questions than answers, in my opinion. Today, Brandon says that Warren is finally breaking his silence about Nolan's phone. But here's the problem. Answering questions isn't the same thing as answering them critically. Throughout this interview, Brandon asks questions, but very few of them are actually ever investigated. So it's very tragic to listen to a former police officer who has some training in investigating things or investigative journalism to us in a sense, to see how he does not continue to ascertain or peel back the onion when some of Warren's statements obviously lead to more questions than answers, which is instead of testing Warren's claims, he's really accepting them as face value. So it's very tragic to watch. So today we're going to do what should happen in any investigation. We're going to slow everything down and separate firsthand knowledge from hearsay, separate things like assumptions from legitimate logical truths or facts, and then ask the questions that should have been asked the first time. So let's get into it.
I didn't come down here do anything other but to get the truth. Did you kill Nolan? Did you have anything to do with Nolan's death? Did you delete anything out of Nolan's phone? People are still out there partying and they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm like yelling at other people, trying to tell them, calm down, like, the boat could possibly sink, and Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get the F on the boat, get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. The next day, I got a phone call from my buddy Trace, and he was like, hey man, they just found his body. My reaction was just, I was with my buddy Brooks, and I broke down.
You guys had been interviewed by law enforcement. Mm-hmm. All of you guys have given statements. But then I think that there's a part associated with this that's being rumored out in the public, and that is the situation with the cell phone, potential deletion of messages, how the cell phone was retrieved. And I just want you to tell your side of this, because what we're getting from the media is that they literally had to, I don't know, coerce you guys into giving it back. You didn't know where it was at. You were hesitant to give the phone over. Almost as they had to turn your wrist or twist your arm just to give it back. Right. Well, what happened with?
I will say Brandon says that people are saying, an investigator starts with facts, not rumors. So instead of saying people are saying this, hey, clear this up for us, or based on your response, this will clear all the rumors up because now we have your testimony, so therefore we can let it rest. Okay, that's not how an investigation works. And he essentially, that was a preview of each part. The initial preview really asks a very theatrical question, which is, did you kill Nolan? For, I guess, theater effect or whatever. But anyway, let's continue, because I wanna listen to what he has to say. But still, Brandon asking and saying that the rumors are this, speak to the rumors. It's crazy. But anyway, let's continue.
The cell phone thing. So let's go back to the first engagement you had when it comes to the family or somebody coming back to get the cell phone and keys. When did that occur, and what happened there?
Okay, well, that night, about 12:30, I went back to my buddy's house.
And you said the night of the 4th?
The night of the 4th, but it was about 12:30, I would like to say. And so I went back to my buddy's house that I stayed the night before, where we all met up, and stayed together the night before. And my buddy got a call from this guy, and the guy was like, oh, like what's going on with all this Nolan stuff? Very aggravated. I mean, yeah, every right to be, but I mean, we were trying to calm him down, and like he was just like, oh, like where y'all at? My buddy said, we're at my buddy's house, and he said, all right, and then he just hung up.
And again, this may be an attorney thing. He keeps saying my buddy, my buddy. I was at my buddy's house. We all met up at my buddy's house. Nolan was there with you guys when you guys met up before the 4th. Who was all there? Like, I mean, I would, again, and he may be advised to do otherwise, but there should be a consolidated list of who was there the night before, because in any investigation you're going to ask questions like, okay, well, who was there before this, or who was there before, or where were you on the night of July 3rd, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I mean, it's just, to me, that's useful information.
And so about 30 minutes later, I'd like to say, all of a sudden the door just got open and slammed, and there was a girl who walked in, and like probably about 8 or 9 guys behind her, and then another mom, which was Javon's mom. And
who's Javon? I want to put that in perspective. Who is Javon?
Javon is one of Nolan's good friends. He's a friend of mine too. Like great guy, and his mom and their family is very close with the Wells family, and I mean, so I don't know why she was there, like what was going on, but I was very surprised by this. I was like, like you just basically like kicked the door open and bust up in the house with no knock or anything.
So is Javon black or white?
Javon's mixed. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I guess he's mixed.
Yeah.
So, but he's not white.
He's not white.
Just white.
Yeah,
or all white, I guess you might call it.
Yeah.
So then they.
By the way, biblically speaking, you are who your father is. So there's no such thing as mixed. If Javon's dad is a Negro, then Javon is a Negro. Europeans created the idea of mixed through the one drop rule and other fallacies that I'm not going to get into, but that's neither here nor there. Let's continue.
Come in the house. Do you know any of these people? You said the mom, but do you know anybody else?
I've seen the mom before, and I know most of them. Most of the guys went to high school with me, and like I'm friends with some of the guys. I mean, I know some of them. So eventually, like things started to get heated, and I was just like a guy I was friends with in high school. He was like, "Man, come outside with me," and I was like, "All right." And I walked outside with him. He was like, "Man, I don't know why, like they're panicking, and like this is just like I think Nolan's just on somebody's couch. He's been drinking all day. He's just messed up, and this is nothing that we have to worry about." As much as I sat there and I told him, I was like, I agree. I would think he's on somebody's couch, just had been drinking all day and just drank too much and was super intoxicated. And that's kind of what a lot of us thought, but they were kind of losing it and they were going crazy. And the mom that was with them demanded Nolan's phone, because Nolan left the phone on the boat. And when we ran in, Nolan didn't ask for his phone, and his keys were not on the boat because his car was parked at my buddy's house where we had all slept, the night before the 4th. And so the keys were left at the house because Nolan's car was at my buddy's house where we stayed at. So of course he left his keys there. But But his phone, I mean, he was drinking. He didn't have his phone in the water because no one did. And I mean, there was more than just Nolan's phone that wasn't on the boat with us.
So it was more than just Nolan's phone that was on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had all our phones, but on the boat. But those weren't the only people. Like, Nolan wasn't the only person that left a phone on the boat. There was a lot of people that left phones on the boat, that didn't ride out or in with us. So I mean, there was a couple phones that we had that we didn't know who they belonged to, and my buddies got that figured out, But it wasn't just Nolan's phone that was on the boat who wasn't there. There was a lot of phones.
Okay, before they continue, this entire section raises far more questions than it answers. I'm sorry, but it just does. There's a lot of questions. Someone, like, the group barges in, they kick in the door. I don't know why they're there. Javon's mom is there. They're demanding for Nolan's phone. They're questioning everyone and panicking. And I mean, I thought that at 11, or when he called the Coast Guard, etc., that he was also in some form of panic or uncertainty. So why is there? I mean, there's levels to panic, obviously, but again, more questions than answers. Warren says that Nolan's phone stayed on the boat. Okay. It went into Wyatt's truck, is what he said. And then the family came and got it. Okay, well, let's examine that. Who physically removed the phone from the boat? Who handed it to Wyatt, and who had access to Wyatt's truck? Was the truck locked? How many people were around it? How long did it remain there in terms of his phone? Who can independently verify that chain of custody? Because notice, Brandon asks none of those questions. Instead, he accepts the story and moves on. That's not scrutiny. You have to scrutinize what he's saying. And you can do it very professionally. You don't have to be, you don't have to make him feel uncomfortable to get desired answers. He's obviously gone down here and is very buddy with this man. But let's continue.
So when they barged in, they started getting frantic. The mom asked for Nolan's phone.
Right.
Was there a struggle over it, or did you guys hand it over?
I mean, just handed it over. I mean, we didn't think anything of it. Like, she asked for Nolan's phone. We knew they were close friends with, the Wells family, and my buddy went out to his truck and handed the phone over. No complications, no issue, nothing. But I mean, I told Miss Christine that we had his phone and he had left it in our possession on the boat.
When did you? Miss Christine is Nolan's mom.
Correct.
When did you talk to her about that?
When I was on. No, I didn't talk to her once. Like, it was like 12:30. I mean, I might have texted her a couple times and talked briefly about a couple things, but I never. I told her on the phone before I called the Coast Guard that we had Nolan's phone. Before I called Miss Christine, I asked, I was like, oh, well, where's his location at? Because Nolan had his Snapchat location on for me. And he said, it's, Wyatt said it's, in my truck. Like, because everybody who left stuff on the boat, it was Wyatt's boat, so Wyatt put it in his truck, it was normal. And so the phone was in possession in Wyatt's truck. And when that mom came over and asked for it, there was no issue at all with us giving the phone to her. I mean, Nolan just left it on the boat. We handed the phone to her that night of the 4th of July.
And did you guys go through the phone, or?
Of course not. I mean, none of us had a reason to go through Nolan's phone. I mean, there's multiple phones on the boat. Why would it be? And the boat was having issues. Why would our concern be getting on Nolan's phone or something? I mean, I don't even know Nolan's password. None of my friends do. We had no reason ever to get on Nolan's phone and look at anything. I didn't even touch Nolan's phone. None of us touched Nolan's phone until somebody took it off the boat and put it in Wyatt's truck, and then no one touched it until we handed it back, to the mom that was at my buddy's house.
Did she pick? Was that the only phone that she picked up, or was it other people's phone that they came and got? Or
That I know of, I think that was the only one that she had. But I'm not completely sure. I think that's the only one that she took Nolan's. That's it.
And so we're on the 4th, where the night, probably going into the morning of the 5th, this happens. Then the dad comes.
Oh, real quick. So initially, I don't know if you caught that contradiction. He said that Warren put the phones in his truck, and then he said someone put the phones in Warren's truck. Okay, so that was a contradiction that he mentioned. He also mentioned previously that there were a lot of phones left on the boat. Okay, the thing is that's I want to say that's a brand new emphasis, because there are prepositions that he's made about, hey, it's it's common for people to leave their phones on the boat, even if you're on an island, because if you're going swimming, you don't want your phone to get wet. Like, we get all of that, but what is not being talked about is the ambiguity of the phones being on a specific boat. Which boat? Does that mean that those people came on that particular boat? Did they consolidate all the phones to one particular boat? And how do you not know whose phone was which? Did you guys ride out there with people that you didn't know? I mean, it just does not make any sense. If there were multiple phones, whose phones were they? Were they, were they all returned? I think he sort of alluded to that. They were all returned. His buddies figured it out, is something that I think he mentioned. So, but did everyone retrieve that? I mean, we're going based on a witness testimony. You have to keep that in mind. But those are questions that need to be answered, because now this isn't just about Nolan's phone anymore. This really becomes a chain of custody issue involving multiple devices. Again, no follow-up, because multiple devices, you're telling me that there's no communication exchange between anyone between the hours of 4:30 up to 11 concerning Nolan. Everyone just presumed he was fine. And why is there such a confidence about Nolan Wells remaining on an island without any boat travel? Like, my mind is just like, okay, well, who are you going to travel back with? If I'm talking to my friend, who are you going to travel back with? I'm not going to presume that you have a boat ride back. If you guys are drinking and you're, under the influence, then, I mean, making rational decisions, asking rational questions is something that you can do when under the influence. And why would you just presume that Nolan is on someone's couch somewhere when he stayed the night with you? So his car is there with you. Like, who else was there that Nolan would say, okay, well, I'm going to go back with them and crash with them, and leave my phone, leave my, my keys are back, like, leave my car. Like, those are unanswered questions. Okay. They just are, which is why you cannot rule that, you cannot presume innocence or guilt. This is just evidence. Listening to Warren speak is evidence, and we need to take all things into consideration.
Back at some point to get the keys.
Right.
What happened there? When was this, and what happened?
Well, my buddy Brooks drove me and dropped me off at my house, and I woke up to a text the next morning that Miss Christina texted me, and she said, "Hey, Nolan's dad's there is there at my buddy's house to pick up the keys." And I didn't think anything of it. I told her that I was praying for her, and that we were out there, and we were doing everything that we could to help out.
And when he came to pick the keys up, was there a confrontation, or? Because I could have sworn I saw on the news that when he came to pick the keys up, it was almost like an altercation because you guys didn't want to get the keys over.
I'm not even going to say anything.
You say you didn't know where the keys were at?
I mean, no, absolutely not. I mean, I wasn't there, but from what my friend told me, they just had to look for Nolan's keys. It's not like, why would we be hiding Nolan's keys? There's no reason to hide anything. You know, this is our friend. We have nothing to hide. I mean, we were trying to help, do everything that we could to help out.
All right, so I want to be clear with this one thing, because I know you mentioned before that you have no reason to touch the phone. Obviously, you didn't touch the phone.
Right.
But is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, there was no reason for us to get on Nolan's phone. No one touched Nolan's phone, but nothing. If none of us had touched Nolan's phone, then there's no reason for anything to be deleted. I mean, no one even was in contact with his phone until it was moved from the boat to the truck. And none of us have access to Nolan's password to get on his phone and delete anything. Absolutely not. And we have no reason to delete anything. I mean, there's nothing to hide here. I mean, we have had no reason to delete anything, and we never did.
Okay, before Brandon continues, I do want to say something though, because he pivots, right? Brandon asks about the keys. Warren immediately says, no, absolutely not. Then, listen carefully, he admits that he wasn't even there. So everything that he just told Brandon came from what his friend allegedly told him. That's hearsay. Now, hearsay can point investigators somewhere else. It's sort of like a red herring. It's like a deflection. It's like, hey, don't look at me, look over here. But hearsay isn't firsthand testimony. It's not. So Brandon never distinguishes between those two things.
So I have something I want to make sure that we're clear about, because you had mentioned earlier that you saw Nolan cradling Katie.
Right.
Her name is Katie.
Yeah, Katie.
I just want you to explain, what does that mean? Some people in their mind, they may think he's cradling like a baby.
Yeah.
Like what is that scenario look like?
He was. I mean, Nolan was off. The last time I saw him, like I said, I was off the bow of the boat. And like I said earlier, if you had jumped off the bow of the boat, you were probably about chest or neck deep in water. So Nolan wasn't like carrying her out the water. She's sitting in the water, and Nolan's arms are under the water, and he's carrying her from under the water. But her head's still out of the water, Nolan's head's still out of the water, and I was looking at both of them. So.
Oh, so he's kind of like holding her.
Right.
Kind of like,
in the water, though.
Like we grown, right?
Yeah,
There's two people in the water. They feeling each other.
Right.
Like meaning feeling they like each other.
Right.
And
that was obvious.
he's a little more close to her, and they're kind of having a moment. Not saying and not insinuating that it's sexual, but
no, of course not.
They're together. They like each other. You looking at him, you like, bro, you crazy, because you know that he like her and he's hanging out with her.
Yeah, right. Okay. Exactly.
That makes sense. And when was the last time that you saw Nolan? And then when was the last time that someone reported to you that Nolan was seen? Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
You saw him at a certain point, but then someone else saw him a lot later when you guys were gone.
Right. Okay. So the last time I personally laid eyes on Nolan was at like 3:00, and he was, front of the boat with the girl, and that's the last time I saw him. But there were, I've talked to somebody personally that saw Nolan at 6:00, and someone, we weren't even the last people to see Nolan. Once we left, there was still dozens on dozens of boats around us. And I mean, clearly we were not the last people to see Nolan.
I mean, it still begs the question, right? Who were those people? Did you guys, I would assume, like, if you're going with people, the boats surrounding your boat, there's two possibilities. They could be people people you don't know, right? So if you went with a company of boats, 3 boats, then this means that you were in a company of people that you knew, okay? But I believe there's a discrepancy with this whole time thing. The last time you saw him was 3. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he mentioned 4:30 at one point in time. So 3 and 4:30, which is it? But I will say that this might be the biggest statement in the interview, because Warren says that someone personally saw Nolan at 6:00. Okay. Who? What's their name? Did they give a statement? Where exactly was Nolan when they saw him? What condition, frame of mind was Nolan in? Was he in danger? Was he intoxicated? Was he smiling? Was he aloof? where is the information that we don't have? Were there other witnesses? Why did just this one particular person say that they saw Nolan? Who was that person with? Can that person's testimony of seeing Nolan be corroborated among the people that that person was with? Did law enforcement verify that timeline? This one statement, if true, changes a significant portion of the timeline, and then Brandon barely touches it. Just drones on. Let's continue.
So Warren, I'm gonna ask you some very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out.
Okay.
I didn't come down here to, do anything other but to get the truth,
Right.
and for you to have a voice in this.
Right.
And the first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan?
Of course not.
Did you have anything to do with Nolan's death?
Of course not. And absolutely not.
They say that you guys deleted stuff out of his phone. Did you delete anything out of Nolan's phone?
No, of course not.
The mom acts like, or at least she portrayed on television, and the rumors are that you weren't really good friends with Nolan. Is that true or not?
Absolutely not. I hung out with Nolan probably like 3 days a week. I mean,
So at this point, it's her word against his. Nolan's mom juxtaposed to him. He mentioned that they were best friends, but he had never visited Nolan's home. How often is he brought up in conversation at Nolan's home? Like, hey, I'm going to hang out with so and so. It just seems odd to me because as a parent, you are keenly aware of who your child is hanging around consistently. In particular, if they're generally with someone often, you would know about it. I find it very strange to not know who my son is hanging around, adult or not an adult, in college or not in college. Hey, tell me about your life. Like, if you're in college, like, who are your best friends? Who are you hanging out with? Okay, you're going to an island that requires boat access only, and that's the only way that that you can get there. As a parent, okay, well, who are you going with? All right. Okay, well, how many people will be there? I'm going to interrogate my son, my daughter, and I don't care how old you are. You can be 30. You can be 40. You're still going to be my child. So for the mother to say that, and for him to say, well, we were best friends. And I mean, again, it's her word against his word. I have no reason to believe that his mother is that Nolan's mom is lying. But I do think that she has reason to believe that this narrative about being the best friend and keep, just continuing to use the adjective best to describe friend is questionable. It just is. And so we need to tread very, very carefully when we're thinking about this, because again, I want everybody watching to notice that Brandon says, did you kill Nolan? Okay. That's a very strong question. Did you have anything to do with his death? Did you delete anything from the phone? What answer did we expect? I mean, would you expect him to say, yes, absolutely, I killed Nolan and I did it. I was culpable. I knew someone who did it. And I mean, you just don't expect that, right? If someone committed a crime, do we expect them to confess because Brandon asked politely, hey, I'm just going to ask you a very poignant question. Just, let me know. Those questions have almost no evidentiary value by themselves. The value comes from testing the answers, not merely receiving them. So this is crazy.
seriously, at least. Some days, my friends want to hang out every single day, and Nolan was always there, so.
And obviously, people may see this and know the facts later,
Right.
that you weren't able to go to the funeral or the memorial service.
Right.
Why didn't you go? What was that?
Well, I mean, with everything going on social media right now, with people saying the crazy things that they're saying, I would never want to take the attention off of Nolan and his family. They don't deserve that. And, you know, for own personal reasons, I mean, I've gotten thousands of death threats. My family's got thousands of death threats. And, you know, for my own safety, I'm not going to put my own health and safety at risk. You know, it breaks my heart that I can't go, and it hurt me more than anything because, you know, obviously I want to say my last goodbyes to one of my best friends, but I mean, if I'm getting thousands of death threats with people saying they're going to kill me and do crazy things to my family and I couldn't bring myself to go because, you know, I got to put my own safety first. And even if that means, you know, missing my friend's funeral, I mean, it's horrible, and I wish I could have been there, but you know, that's what's been going on, you know.
And you know,
So
you guys, I think this is the first time that you've.
But you know,
let me just go back real quick. So I will.
It's horrible.
I will
and I wish I could have
acknowledge.
been there, but you know,
I will acknowledge something here. Out of respect, I do understand that, right? I do understand that, and I believe, I thought it was very interesting that the media, after the judge issued a public statement, and then, you know, mentioned that they were receiving death threats. I mean, you got to keep in mind those are things that happened after Nolan's disappearance. So people are frustrated. They're asking questions, and they're not getting any answers. Which again, I mean, excuse me, they're getting some answers, but not all answers. And the media wants to frame it as, well, you know, we have all the evidence. We're just waiting on, you know, X, Y, Z. And that just isn't enough for a lot of people. And so while we do need to trust people to do their job, investigators are not infallible, right? They are fallible, so they can make mistakes. And them not really giving us, the community, anything while this investigation continues, people are a little restless. But I do understand, you know, hey, you got to protect yourself, protect your family. But I will say this, make no mistake, those things, despite hearing those things, we should still keep an open mind with respect to what's going on here. Okay. We have to, all right, but let's continue.
that's what's been going on, you know.
And you know, you guys, I think this is the first time that you've publicly gave a statement about this.
Yeah.
And obviously you're doing it with me. We're gonna put it out there for the world. Why did you choose to do it now? And why did you choose to not speak to anybody but me?
Right. Okay. Well, you know, Officer Tatum, I've been watching you for a good while now, and you know, I think you're a great guy. You've kind of, ever since things got really hot, you've kind of been on my friends and I's side, and I really like that about you. I mean, I thought you were very confident and well-spoken, and I really enjoyed that. And all my friends and I watch you. We all think you're great. We love your faith with the Lord. You know, we try to be closer and closer with the Lord every day, and so did Nolan. You know, and you know, that we just really liked the way you spoke about us and how you took our side, not based off someone's agenda and, you know, based off of race, because I mean, that's a horrible thing, you know.
Was this about race? Did this have anything to do with race as far as from your perspective?
Absolutely not. I mean, Nolan's been a great friend of mine since 8th grade. Nolan isn't my only friend of color, and you know, I have plenty of friends through high school and friends I have now, not just Nolan, who are
I thought he said that he's known Nolan since elementary school.
Black, Mexican. You know, I've never looked at that, and none of my friends ever have. Like, and if you do, you know, that's disgusting, you know.
And if you had a chance to, you know, tell the world that have painted this picture of you and your friends as being potential murderers of Nolan, white supremacists, racists, what would you want the world to know if you can summarize to them in a very short paragraph or a few sentences?
Yeah.
What would you want to say to them if you had the opportunity?
I would want to say to them that my family and I are praying for y'all. You know, I can never bring myself to tell somebody that I'm going to kill them, and that I'm going to, you know, I've received, and my family's received, absolutely horrible threats about this. And, you know, I want people to know that our faith with the Lord is stronger and means more to us than anything. And we all trust in the Lord, and for the Lord to reveal the truth. And I know that's what will happen because I have faith and my family has faith. But I want people to know that I'm praying for them. And if they want to speak hate and speak, you know, these horrible things, then, I mean, you're obviously not in the right state of mind, and you need to work on yourself. It's a horrible thing, and, you know, but race was never a thing between Nolan and I and my friends. I mean, I have friends in my friend group that are Mexican and, you know, mixed, black. I mean, that's never mattered. And I think it's just absolutely disgusting that people try to make this narrative out of something that it's absolutely not, first off, and out of something that they have zero facts about. Jackson County hasn't released any facts. There haven't been any facts about this case other than that, you know, just timelines and, you know, stuff like that. But it's horrible that people have made this out to be something that it's absolutely not. And it's disgusting in my opinion.
Was Nolan the only black person on that island?
Absolutely not. I saw a lot of black people. And like I said, I mean, you know, it's not pointed out or anything. I mean, I wasn't looking at that, but my buddy Trayson was out there, and, you know, he's mixed. Javon was out there. He's came out. He's mixed. I know a bunch of my friends that are black that were out there that day that I haven't even mentioned. I mean, Nolan was not the only black person out there by no means. I mean, like, there was thousands of people out there, white, Mexican, black, you know, everyone, you know.
And in the friend group, is Nolan the only black person in the friend group?
Absolutely not. My buddy Trayson's black. You know, I have other friends of color. I mean, our friend group is very tight, and, you know, we have a small, not a small group of guys, but we have 10 to 12 guys in my friend group, and, you know, we're all from Ocean Springs, and, you know, we grew up together. But Nolan is not the only black guy in my friend group by any means, and everybody knows that.
There's controversy around the CETO, right? You got
Real quick. So I just get the sense that, you know, Brandon is really not an interviewer. He's really an advocate. He asked Warren why, and I didn't mention this earlier because I wanted to see where this was best to stop. But he asks Warren, you know, why did they choose him to do this interview? And then Warren says, well, because Brandon had already taken their side, and they have watched Brandon's content. Brandon he calls himself a conservative, but if you watch a lot of his content, he is anti-black. You would think that this man hates black people with the amount of disparaging content that he puts out there about black people, and you don't see any of it for white people, when there is a lot of data on the internet that shows otherwise. And so my thing is, if he truly loves white people, then, you know, why not talk about all of the issues in their community, like pedophilia, you know, suicide, anxiety, opioid crisis. I mean, you name it. There's a ton of issues, but for some reason he's hyper fixated on black people. And I'll admit the 20%. He's focused on that, and then it's interesting that Warren likes his content. I mean, he doesn't necessarily say which what content he's referring to, but Brandon doesn't put out healthy things in the community on his social media platform. He just doesn't. But again, think about that. He literally says that he came to Brandon because Brandon was already on their side. And that should make every objective person pause. So let's get the biggest advocate. Let's get a guy who has a huge platform. Let's make, he's black. Let's get him out here and sort of smooth things out, right? And it's always us. You got to get a strong black man to come out with, the gentleness, right? And, the listening skills and the affirmation. Let me go out and affirm these people, right? But again, that should make every objective person pause. An interview is supposed to challenge a witness, not reassure you. And then Brandon asks whether race had anything to do with it. Warren says no because he has black friends. That's not how logic works. Having black friends doesn't automatically eliminate every possible racial motive in this case. It may recuse him, but it doesn't mean that what happened to Nolan was not on the basis of race. It doesn't mean it. Okay. So you cannot rule out race. To rule out race is absolutely insane. America was founded on that. Okay. A lot of the systems that still exist today it's always about race. I mean, Charlie Kirk made it about race. The media makes it about race. Statistics, they give you ambiguous statistics about violence and about all these crimes that somehow black people are committing. And so when we say things about race, they say, well, why do you always make it about race? They literally made Jesus white when Jesus wasn't white. I mean, and then now when we say Jesus was black, they say, okay, well, you're making it about race. It's just about what he taught. Again, this whole idea of race being recused is absolutely insane. It's a possibility. Just like accusing someone of racism without evidence doesn't necessarily establish one. The answer isn't it was racism. The answer also isn't it could not have been racism. For anyone who turns a blind eye to racism, you have to question their motive. Those are the people who are very, very dangerous. It's not the white supremacists. It's not the people who are outright racist. It's the ones who say that racism doesn't exist. Those are the ones you have to be very mindful of. And so the answer is just show the evidence and stop speculating. But let's continue.
Guys called it in.
Right.
They have that record of you guys, making that emergency call.
Right.
But then there's this, I guess, graphic of you guys traveling at a slow speed. Then all of a sudden you accelerate.
Right.
People are saying that that's an indication of something afoot or foul play going on in that timeline. What do you have to say to the naysayers who are mentioning that something must have happened, that you guys were going slow, then you accelerated all of a sudden?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely not. We got towed probably a quarter mile. Like I said, my buddy Bart drove his boat up next to ours after he pulled us out away from the island, and then he towed us a little more while we were trying to get the motor figured out. I mean, the motor would trim down. So then eventually, and the motor wouldn't trim down. And so eventually we figured out if you held the manual trim on the motor will stay in the water even when you start to accelerate. Because when my buddy would put the boat in gear and forward, the motor would come right back up. So it trimmed down, but then it'd come right back up when you went to go put it in forward and drive off. So yeah, we stopped at one point. My buddy pulled the plug out the boat, got back in the boat, the captain of the boat, got in the water, pulled the plug out the boat, got back in the boat, and hit it. And like I said earlier, we all transferred our weight to the front. So, because there was so much water in the back of the boat that when my buddy had it pinned out all the way, trying to go as fast as we can, and the boat was still sitting like this on the water. Wouldn't even plane out. So we had to move all the way to the front of the boat. Everybody had to get on the bow, and eventually we planed. Everybody got sat back, and when you're on plane and you're going, water starts coming out the boat. Like, that's the whole reason he pulled the plug, because when you come out the water and you're on plane and the boat's level, water starts coming out the boat. So, I mean, that's why we came to a stop, so he could jump in the water, pull the plug, and then we hauled in. You know, there was no stopping, because if you do stop, the water starts coming back in the boat because the plug's out. So
there's nothing nefarious there. It's just a formality of trying to unplug the boat and
absolutely
get it,
not.
Get it docked properly.
Correct. I mean, we were just trying to, you know, solve the boat's issues, because we wouldn't have ever gone anywhere if the boat wasn't figured out. So
okay, so he's essentially talking about the boat GPS, the location of the boat, and those things. But again, he accepts one explanation. Could Warren's explanation be correct? Sure. I have no problem with saying that. Could there be other explanations? You bet there could be. Good investigators don't stop asking questions after hearing one plausible explanation. It's just one explanation. They test whether that explanation is going to survive scrutiny. That's just point of fact.
And Nolan being a really good friend of yours, really good friend of all of you guys, some of you guys have been accused of killing him. I mean, obviously he was somebody you knew, somebody you spent a lot of time with. With all that has gone on, if Nolan was here, what do you think he would say about all this?
I think Nolan has one of the most, I mean, Nolan's one of the best men I've ever met. I mean, he has an amazing heart. And like I said in the beginning, I mean, Nolan is one of the nicest and sweetest people I've ever met. I mean, seriously, he had no hate in his heart whatsoever. I think if Nolan knew this was going on, he'd be sick to his stomach. I mean, Nolan hated all hate and arguing and drama. He didn't like any of that. So, I mean, I think if Nolan knew this was going on, he'd be very, very upset. I mean, it's horrible. If he knew his friends were getting these threats and, you know, we were, you know, felt threatened for our lives, I mean, Nolan would be traumatized if he was here, like, and if he knew that. Like, I mean, he was a person of no violence, and, you know, he had a really good heart. He would hate it.
You think your friendship with Nolan inspired you to want to speak out?
Of course. I mean, I know Nolan, and like I said, I've been really tight with Nolan since 8th grade, and he's a best friend of mine. He's like a brother, and Nolan's the type of guy to fight back for what's right and fight for the truth. And I know Nolan would tell me if he was here to fight back and make sure the truth is out and make sure your word is out, because that's what matters most.
So after all that's been said in this interview, do you have any theories about what could have possibly happened to Nolan?
You know, my buddies and I have talked about it, and like I said, I mean, I've been on the water my entire life. My friends have. It's not like we're unexperienced in this, but Nolan was my best friend, and he was my friend's best friends, and he was like a brother to me. And more than anything, and the thing that's most important is what happened to him. And I mean, I want to know just as much as anybody else. I mean, that's all. Like, my friends haven't stopped talking about that. Like, what happened, and, you know, like, just trying to figure it out. But I would never want to put it on somebody else because of the hate that I've received for just being out there around them, and my name getting brought up because I called the Coast Guard. I was the first one to call the Coast Guard. I mean, I don't know, and I want to know more than anybody. I mean, my friends and I are have been wondering this for a while, and, you know, we just want to know as much as anybody else what happened to him. But I would never want to sit here and blame anybody else and put this on anybody else because of the hate and death threats that my family and my friends have received. It's horrible, and I would never want someone else to, like, experience that, you know?
Yeah, especially if there's no evidence to it.
Exactly.
Whoa. I mean, he needs to learn to just be careful. I mean, you can acknowledge his statements. There is nothing wrong with acknowledging his statements, but you don't want to give the conclusion and make it seem like now it's affirmed, now it's established, okay? Because this entire segment or chapter in this video is, let's just call it what it is. It's emotional. Warren talks about Nolan, and Brandon asks what Nolan would think, and they discuss friendship. That's understandable, but emotion isn't corroboration. Whether Warren loves Nolan or didn't, that doesn't answer what happened to Nolan. Sympathy should never replace investigation at all. So I just don't understand. I mean, again, we at one point we're childhood friends. Now, we knew each other since middle school. Um, listen, there's things in here that need to be
I got
questioned.
2 more things I want to address directly. It's been said out there that you guys immediately delete your social media, lower it up, as if you were in some type of fear that you would be implicated in this. What do you say to that?
I mean, of course we lured up, and of course, I deleted my social media. I was getting death threats before anything ever came out because I was the one that called the Coast Guard. I mean, people put this all on me because I was the one that called. I was the one that was, worried. My friends were just as well. I mean, of course I deleted all my social media. I was getting insane death threats, like stuff I couldn't even believe 2 days after. And, we went straight to the police. I wanted the police to come and ask questions. I wanted them to know and have all of my information. And, I mean, people were accusing me of murdering my best friend. It's sick. I mean, like, just because of race. I mean, it's disgusting. It makes me sick to my stomach. I mean, I got off of social media because there were people saying insane things to me and my family, and I just couldn't sit there and look at it. I mean, that's it.
And Warren, thank you so much, man, for being bold and courageous, for telling your story. The purpose of me doing this and flying down here is because I wanted to know for myself. I always felt that the narrative that was out there wasn't quite complete. It seems like there was a rush to judgment. And I know that you could have taken the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm not going to say anything. I'm afraid for my life. And I'm just not going to put my neck out there. Right. But I applaud you and appreciate you for stepping up, for doing what Nolan would be proud of you doing, and that is putting your word out there and not letting the naysayers run with the narrative.
Of course.
And you being a young guy, I'm much older than you. I could take the punches. Right. I love dishing it out. But for you as a young man to really put your neck out there, to stand up for your friends and stand up for Nolan is very honorable. And I appreciate you doing this interview with me.
Well, I appreciate you. I mean, you being here and flying down has meant a lot. And I mean, I just wanted to get my story out there because I know that's what Nolan would want me to do. And I want the truth to come out. And I pray that the good Lord reveals the truth to everybody. So thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right, so part 5 coming soon. But notice how this interview ends. Not with evidence, not with corroboration, not with verification. It ends with Brandon essentially just praising Warren, telling him Nolan would be proud of him, and then thanking him for standing up for truth. Now, again, he keeps using this term. Truth is, you got to understand something. There is truth and false, or true and false are axiomatic, right? This is an evidentiary witness. That's it. A evidentiary witness, not the entire story. He doesn't know what happened to Nolan, but he has already concluded that Nolan, or excuse me, his best friend had nothing to do with it, or his best friend doesn't know anybody who had anything to do with it, or he's coming to conclusions that, there was no foul play involved and that Nolan just drowned, right? He's coming to all these conclusions, and notice when he uses the term truth, you have to discern that's what he's talking about. He's talking about the narrative that he wants you to believe. But as someone who actually does care about the truth, you cannot come to those conclusions because they're absolutely problematic. Again, after listening to 4 parts, we still have more questions than we have answers, because that's the investigator's job, to determine whether the testimony is truthful, not assume that it is. So again, let me leave you with this. Some people don't investigate cases. They investigate whether the case fits their worldview. If they already believe that racism explains everything or doesn't explain everything, they force every fact into that conclusion. If they already believe that racism explains nothing, guess what? They dismiss the possibility of it being related to Nolan Wells' ethnicity before the evidence is even complete. That's not justice. That's not biblical justice. That may be justice according to America, to an American standard, a European American standard, because again, there is a tale of two cities in this country. There has always been a double standard with respect to the law in this country, and that is just a fact. It just is. So ruling out racism as a reason for this young man's demise is, again, asinine. It doesn't make any sense. Again, that's not justice. You're not doing justice for Nolan. You're not doing justice for his family. You're not seeking justice from a godly standpoint either, because this sounds like ideology. And now I'm not ruling out an accident happened. I'm not ruling out negligence either, because I'm a critical thinker. I'm a logician. I'm not ruling out foul play either, and I'm not ruling out race. Every reasonable possibility stays on the table. It just has to until the evidence takes it off of it. So with that, I say shalom, scripture, logic, and truth.